Hi guys, welcome to Demo 8. Today I'll be showing you how we can work with images on the back end. So we'll be using Amazon's S3 bucket storage to store our images, and we're going to require that clients send us what's called a base64 string. So I'm going to show you guys this here, and I'll also show you what to expect in this demo. Highly recommend that you guys do this for the hack challenge, because if you're going to do like a user-facing app, you might want to store profile pictures, or if you want people to post any pictures, you want to be able to store them. So yeah, stay tuned if this is what interests you. Alright, so I'm going to do something a bit lousy and just like take a really tiny screenshot of the screen, like, I don't know, a like 2x2 pixel image. So I just took a screenshot. Let me save that to my desktop. And here I'm basically going to convert my image to a base64 string, and you'll soon know what that means. So this is, I think, what I just took. The reason why I'm doing a really small image is that the strings can get really long if your image is really big. So let me copy the image. And here I have my Heroku app running, but I want to show you guys what it looks like with Postman, because we are going to be using a post request. So here, this is my example endpoint, and I'm going to paste this image, and so I can restart from here to show you guys. So I'm going to be passing in something called image data and then pasting my string. It's, as you can see, it's very long, even though it's like only a 2x2 image. And this is what you expect, but let me post this. It's going to take some time. Oh, okay. Not as long as I expected, because this is Heroku. And what's super cool is that our backend is going to return a URL that we can access. So if I go into my browser and I paste this and I press enter, wow, my browser just downloaded an image. And if I open that, I believe it opened up here, you can see that this is the little screenshot I took, the 2x2 pixel image. So this is what we're going to be doing in this demo. Before you guys do that, we have to make an AWS account. So you can go to this page, like signin.aws.amazon.com. You can just search up AWS and then create an account, and it will lead you here. But I'm just going to sign in. And I've already created an S3 bucket, but let me show you guys. So they have a lot of services here, but what you want to go to is storage and then S3. And then here S3, I've already created a bucket called Demo 8, but I'll create one just to show you guys. So I'll just call this demo. Hopefully that exists. And you want to uncheck this because you want anybody to access your bucket. This is a bit janky, but for educational purposes, I think this is okay. Otherwise, it gets a bit tricky with permissions and stuff, and you have to click I acknowledge. And then for everything else, just keep the defaults, and then you can click create bucket. Oh, okay. I'll just say demo 8. Okay, Elena demo. That definitely does not exist. Okay, create bucket. And I've created a bucket. And so what we should expect is, because I showed you guys that demo with Postman there, our image should show up here. And I've done this multiple times, so you can see my image show up here. But I'm just gonna delete this bucket because I just showed you guys for the sake of showing you. All right, so we have a bucket here. And before we do anything, let's get our configuration and stuff set up. So let's go to, I think if you search up like AWS security credentials, and if you go here, I think you can sign into console, and then if you click here and you go to my security credentials, it will show this up, and then you click on access keys, and I've already generated these, but what you want to do is you will, I can show you guys this all over again, but I will click deactivate, and oh god, that's a very long, I'll just delete this so I can create another one to show you guys, but let's create a new access key, and then click download key file, and you can open this. And then it will show you the AWS access key ID and the secret key. So what we want to do is, let me open up my terminal. Okay, so what you want to do is go into your root directory. So just type cd. And I think that should also work for Windows users. If not, you can just search up how to get into your root directory. And here I have a bunch of random stuff, but I want to create a folder called .aws. So if I try to do mkdir.aws, I think because I've already created a directory, I can just go into it. But here I have two files, config and credentials. These do not have any file extensions. They're literally just text files with no .txt or any like other variation of a text file. But if I type cat, you want to copy and paste this into a file. So the way that you can create a file is you can just type vim. You should name this config, but I already have that there. But if I type like test, and then I can copy this, press enter, and then I can command V to paste, escape, :WQ, enter. Then if I do cat test, my stuff is there. So you would do that for config. And then I can just remove this, yes, and then I have the stuff I want. Now credentials is where you want to put your access key and I think your secret key. So if I shouldn't show you guys my credentials, but I can definitely renew them. So don't use these credentials, but I can go into credentials. And then what you want to do is put this part here and this part there, and just paste that. And then once you have that done, you will be all set to go. So then your computer will know how to access your Amazon S3 bucket. So you have the right permissions. Since I displayed this publicly, I'm going to have to update my keys, but that's fine. All right. Yeah, so on that note, don't show anyone your keys, don't post it onto GitHub, etc. And this is, remember, your root directory of your laptop. It has nothing to do with the folder or whatever directory that you're working in. All right, so now that I've gotten that out of the way, I think we can start coding. Yes, okay. So let me move this away and move this away. All right, so you should have downloaded starter code that we posted on the website, the course website, and what you're going to be getting is some bare app.py file, a DB file, a Docker file, which we've already nicely filled out for you, and let me just delete this database file, and a requirements.txt. So the first things first, let us go into our virtual environment. Sorry, this is a bit wacky, but let's create a virtual environment. And then let's step into it. And then let's pipe in our requirements.txt. Okay, great. And then let's see if we can run Python app.py. Oh, we can run it. Okay, so we can test and see that our hello world endpoint works. So that was given to you right over here. Okay, so I can go to my hello world endpoint and that works. Okay, so we have our nice server working. And let's get cracking code. Okay, so what we want to do essentially is create our DB file. Let me actually and make sure that I'm at 3.8 or something like that. Okay, and we can close our server because we're not going to be using that anytime soon. All right, so before we do anything, let's just get all of our imports in. Okay, so we're going to import base64, boto3, datetime, bytes.io, guess extension. So this is going to come in handy when we want to know what kind of file type we're going to be parsing. OS will be helping us know the directory that we're working in so that we can save our image temporarily before we push it to the S3 bucket. And then later, these will all make sense. So these are all my imports. You should probably order them in some nicer way than I have just instead of alphabetically. And then some constants that we want have the extensions. So we're going to just arbitrarily support PNG, GIF or GIF, JPG, JPEG. You can even do videos. I think S3 supports that, but we're just going to do this to give you a taste of what it's like to assert some extension types. And then we're going to get our base directory, and I'll explain to you why we need this later. We need to have the name of our S3 bucket. So earlier I named mine Elena Demo, but the one that I've created for this demo is called Demo 8, and this is going to be whatever bucket you want to name it when you create your S3 bucket. And then we're going to have a base URL. So the base URL is the same for everyone except for the bucket part. So here, this is an F string. Basically, I'm replacing the bucket part with this variable. You can just use the same exact thing. And make sure yours is also in the West, US. It might be East for some of you guys, but I'm on the West Coast, so for some reason that's right for me. Okay, let me delete these white spaces so we have more space. All right, so we are going to call an image an asset, because if you want to support videos later, it will make more sense because an asset means either an image or a video. So let's create our class asset. It's going to be a DB model. Let's name the table, and that's just going to be asset. We're going to have an ID. This is the same as we've always been doing. The base URL of the image, and I'll show you what that means. So if we go to Postman, and if you guys notice here, this URL that was returned, let me do this. Let me make this bigger. This URL has this base URL. This is the base URL. And then this is the salt of the image. So salt is kind of like a unique identifier of an image. It's like a random generated string as a name. And PNG is going to be that extension. So hopefully this clears things up. And now you know what salt is. So it's going to be a string too. And the extension. And I'm keeping track of all of this information because, I don't know, maybe you want to do something cool like filtering by extension and stuff like that. But I'm doing this so that if you do want to extend upon all of these interesting information about an image, you can. These are just the height and width of an image. You don't have to include these. I would include these just in case the client, like iOS or Android, asks you to resize images and give them like thumbnails and stuff like that. And if you know the height and width, you can like do whatever stuff and show them, I've changed this image by 50% or something like that. All right, and then we just have a created at just to, for analytics sake. All right, so let's get the constructor. This is going to take in kwargs. So keyword arguments, I think that's what KWM stands for. And we're going to, instead of do everything under init, let's just make this really neat. And I'm just going to create some method called create. And I'll show you guys what that is. All right, so before we go into this create function, let's define the serialize method. This is serialize self. And what I'm going to return is the URL at which you can find the image. So this is going to be the base URL / the salt of the image dot the extension. All right, and another thing I want to just return just for jokes is the created at field. And I have to cast this to a string because notice here for created at, this is a datetime object, and we have to return this as a string if we want to serialize it. All right, so let's move on to the create method. So I'm going to be passing in an image data. So notice here, I'm going to be expecting image data at the constructor, and I'm passing this forward to the create method. And if it makes it more clear, this is essentially my post body. So here in my post body, I'm sending in image data and just a string. So that's the base 64 string. Okay. Now let's get cracking. Okay, so one thing, this is maybe bad style, but I want this demo to be short, so we're not going to go that much in depth, but what we can do is just do a dry catch except. So I'm going to just do hi, accept exception as E, and this is just going to say unable to create image due to, and I don't know, like the error that we caught. Oops, okay. So now that we have this try, let's start writing stuff in it. So now we're going to use this packages that we imported. So let's guess the extension of the image. So let's type ext is guess extension, guess type, image data at this, and this. Okay, so let me explain this for a bit. So guess type, I think will return a list given this image data string. And we only want the first element, which is going to be the extension of the image, and we want to guess that, and this removes the period. So what this is saying is, given some base 64 string, I want to get some extension, so this is going to be .png, and then this bracket 1 : is saying strip off the first character, so this is going to be PNG. And the reason being is that when we return the URL, it's kind of weird if I deleted this period. I might think it's like a bug or something, so I'm just stripping the period off and adding it here to make it clear that here's a salt.extension. All right, so now that I have ext, I'm going to check if this extension is an extension that we support. So if ext not in extensions, so that was the list that we defined up here. If it's not in there, I'm going to raise an exception. So if you watch the authentication video, you'll know that we don't return a failure response at the db.py level because that's not the label abstraction that we want to return this this failure response at. We want to catch the exception and then print it or whatever, and app.py will optionally return a failure response. Okay, so now we want to generate the salt of the image because we're giving a base 64 image, but we need to name the image so that we can generate a URL for it, right? So this is going to be salt. And then I want to join this. So it's going to be quite random. And this is just a very secure way of generating random strings. And it actually doesn't matter if we're secure or not, but it's just something handy to know about. So for I in range. So we're saying make this this name of the image of length 16 characters. Great. So now that we have the salt, so let me just write a comment here. Secure way of generating random string for image name. Great. And then now what we want to do is open this image so that we can save it on the server that we're going to be running our code on. And then that's how we can extract this image and push it to AWS. So what we need to do is extract this image from the base64 string. So this is going to be, we're going to use regex to kind of match the string, because if you notice here, let me show you Postman. This base64 string is a bit wacky. It has here data, image, PNG, base64, and then it has then it has the actual string information. And what we want to do is cut this part out. So we want to match on that substring. And that's what regex is. I think this is slightly weird. Okay, so we're going to say data, image, and we're going to say, because it's not necessarily going to be PNG, we want to do any, and then base64. And then pass in the image data. Okay, and we're basically saying this is an empty string, so we want to replace this part of the image data with an empty string. All right, now we want to decode the base64 string. So this is how you do it. And then we want to open the image using this library called bytes.io. I think this is also using Pillow though, because we're importing image from Pillow. Yep, so PIL stands for Pillow. Great, so what we're doing here is remove header of base64 string and open image. Great, so now let's actually create the DB object. Remember, we are calling this method create from init, so we actually need to create this image by setting its fields. So this is how we would do it. self base URL equals S3 base URL. So that was the constant that we defined on the top of the file. Salt, so we figured out the salt by generating the random string. Extension, we already know that. Width, sorry. This is a bit wacky. Okay, extension, ext. Width is just the image.width. Remember, we opened the image, so we can kind of interact with it as if it was like an image object, because it is an image object. Height, and then the created at, we're just gonna set, it's like the time as now. Great, so this is creating the DB object. So now let's attempt to upload our image to AWS, but before we do that, let's create the file name. So the file name that we're going to temporarily store this image under is going to be, it's salt.the extension. And then let's call our helper method called upload. And it's going to take in the image that we've just opened and the file name that we've just created. Sorry, this is exception. I think VS Code is being a bit strange. And oops, I already have that. Okay. So now that we have this, let's implement upload. So this is going to take an image and the image file name. And we're going to do the same thing and accept exception as E. Ideally, you would catch specific exceptions, but this is a cute demo, so it doesn't really matter that much. And I just want to show you guys how to use S3. Okay, so we're going to say like unable to upload image due to E. Okay, so what we're going to do is use that file name and create a temporary location on our server. So this is going to be temp loc, and we're going to use the base directory. So that was what I showed you guys up here. This is os.getCwd. I can even show you guys in the terminal what this means. So if I open a Python interpreter and I do import os and I do os dot, I think it's getCwd, I'm in the directory where I opened this Python shell in. So if I exit, goodbye Python interpreter, this means that wherever my directory is here, it's going to get me this path. And I'll show you guys later why this is kind of cool. But let's do this file name. Okay. Great. And then let's save the location at this location. Save the image at this location. Okay. So this is save image temporarily on server. Now we're going to upload our image to S3. So how we do that is we create the S3 client, and that's using Boto 3. So this is a very nice package. This is saying use the Amazon S3 service, and let's upload this file, which is going to be located at this temp loc that we defined at our bucket that we named. So this is demo 8. Remember I showed you guys Elena demo, and this is just going to be file name. So we can just say image file name. And then what we have to do is make this image URL public. So just because you upload it to S3 doesn't necessarily mean everyone can download the image, but you want any client, you want any Android or iOS person to be able to open your image. So let's make S3 image URL public. So this is S3 resource. So we're going to get the Boto 3 resource of S3. And this is some like very specific syntactic thing. You don't have to know this too well, but you can read this in documentation. So this is getting the information, and then we're going to set its permissions to be public readable, so people can download the image however they like. And then after we've done that, we have to remove this image from our temporary location. But I want to show you guys what it's like if I don't remove it, so you'll know intuitively what I mean. Okay, so now that we've created the db.py file, let's go into our app.py file and actually implement the upload endpoint. So let's parse our body. this is body, json.loads, request.data, and let's get the image, let's get the image data. Body.get image data. Okay, if image data is none, we want to throw an error. No base 64 URL to be found. And otherwise, we want to create this asset from the class we just made and pass in this image data. And then we want to add it to our database. That way we can keep track of the URLs for some reason. Okay. And then we want to return a success response by serializing it and returning to a 1 saying that we've successfully created something. Okay, so let's test this out. Let's open Postman. Is there a way I can duplicate this? Okay, then let me just do the local host endpoint. Let's try this. I think we need to run our server actually. Yep, so let's run our server. Sorry, I did a typo here. So this is supposed to be from IO import bytes IO. And let's try this again. Okay, so the server is running. Let's open Postman. And let's press send. Method not allowed. Oops, I added an extra backslash. Okay, internal server error. Let's see what's wrong. Name asset. Okay, perfect. I forgot to import my actual class here. So let's just do that and see if that works. Great. Let me delete the database just in case. And let's close the server, restart this. Send. Oof. This is saying, how do I close this problems thing? Okay. Not null constraint. Interesting. DB session commit. Oh, is this another typo? That's unfortunate. All right. So this is bytes IO. And let's see if this is running again. Okay, let me redo this and see. Great, so the server works now. As you can see, I had a couple of hiccups with importing stuff, so don't forget that. Alright, so another thing that I want to show you guys was when we posted that image to Postman, this image showed up in our temporary location, which is that base dir with the file name, right? Concatenated together. So I just uncommented this out, but before I had it uncommented, which is why this image stayed there. So you should uncomment this, and then basically the next time you run posting this image to Postman, you'll see that no image appears in this directory anymore. So this is what the OS remove part does. And let's see if we can access this URL. So let's go to Chrome. Wow, it downloaded something. And is it the image? Yes. Sorry, I opened up on my other monitor, but here it is. Our wonderful, lovely screenshot of a 2x2 image. Great, so that works. Okay, so one thing that I wanted to show you guys was how we can actually deploy this, because if you noticed, we have all of these configurations like the credentials and the config in our .aws folder. We want to be able to deploy that onto Heroku. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how you can deploy this. So let's go to iterm, clear cd. Okay, so let's create a Heroku app. So if you notice in the starter code that we gave you guys, there's already the port stuff handled for Heroku, and we already have the Docker file for you. So we should be good. Okay, let's try to do Heroku login. Okay, I'm logging in. That's great. Let's try to do Docker login to make sure I'm logged into Docker. And let's do Heroku container login. Great. Okay, so let's create a Heroku container. So if you notice, I already did something called images demo, but I'll create another one just to show you guys how to do it. Container push web app images demo 2. Oh, sorry. I need to go to starter. So I need to go where my Docker file is. Oh, brain fart. Okay, I need to actually create this and then I can push my container. Great. So pushing my container. And this might take some time. All right, it's done. Okay, so let's push our container. So this is Heroku container, or release it. This is images demo 2, I believe. Okay, now that's done. Let's set our AWS credentials, and it's really nice. So the command looks like this. But basically, we want to fill in our AWS access key and our secret key. So if I go here, I already have them. So I can copy this, paste it, and then copy this, and paste it. And I need to set the app. So this is images demo 2. Great, so it works. All right, so let's try and open our app. So I think if I go to Heroku, this should work. So let's go to, I think if I do images demo 2, might take a bit of time because it's just starting. And if there's an issue, we can just debug that in the console. I can also try this here and try and posting. Oh, so it looks like the hello world already works, and this one already works. So if I try and go to this URL, it should download the image, and it does. So that is it for this images Heroku demo. We've never done an images demo before, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that. I'll say good luck to you guys on whatever the rest of your Thanksgiving break and finals, and I'll see you at the hack challenge. Bye.